Brett Kavanaugh proclaiming his innocence and revealing President Trump for the first time that we know of since the Kavanaugh allegations broke, called his Supreme Court nominee Monday, telling him he stands by him, and the president overnight tweeting that Kavanaugh was the victim of what he calls false accusations.
I am looking for a fair process, a process where I can defend my integrity and clear my name. And all I'm asking for is fairness.
We're now in week 3 of the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, and the entire country has been shaken up. There's so much drama in these hearings that even the Real Housewives of Atlanta are watching it like, God damn, this is insane.
As expected, the corporate media's coverage of Brett Kavanaugh's appointment process is disappointingly superficial. While there's no doubt sexual harassment is a pressing issue in modern-day America, left-leaning establishment outlets and individuals alike are mired in these accusations, as well as partisan political divides as they fail to recognize Kavanaugh's very troublesome record of court rulings. Rulings that show his verifiable proclivity toward using the government to very literally harass the American people and the rest of the world. While Congress and the people bicker over their disagreements with Kavanaugh as he testifies, few are discussing what he has in common with both factions of the American ruling class. The ACLU compiled a report in August detailing his many troublesome perspectives, highlighting his past decisions on surveillance, free speech, presidential and congressional war powers, and as a result, the overreaching iron fist of government power that few care to challenge, choosing instead to fight for control of the institution at large. As the ACLU summarizes in its report on the American Civil Liberties Union on the nomination of Judge Brett M. Kavanaugh to be Associate Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, quote, Kavanaugh's record shows his extreme deference to presidential war powers and national security claims, an unwillingness to enforce international law absent express incorporation by the political branches, and a tendency to find obstacles to holding government officials accountable for constitutional and human rights abuses in national security cases. One of the greatest constitutional violations since 9/11 has been the U.S. government's denial of fair trials and redress over government violations of rights within the justice system. What nobody's talking about is that Kavanaugh has encouraged these encroachments. In the 2015 case Meshal versus Higginbotham, Kavanaugh moved to deny, quote, a remedy to an American citizen detained and abused by FBI agents overseas, siding with security over freedom, claiming that giving the American citizen in question his constitutional rights might undermine efforts to fight terrorism. In a 2009 case, Salah versus Titan, he asserted military contractors cannot be held liable to human rights abuses as long as they are acting under the authority of the U.S. military. There's ample evidence of these abuses, but Kavanaugh does not believe in holding government affiliates accountable. Similarly, in the same ruling, he asserted that, quote, government contractors are immune from torture claims brought under the Alien Torch Statute when the contractors operate under the control of the U.S. military. Basically, what Kavanaugh's saying is that the military's violent authority trumps everything. He sided with the executive branch on war powers. Kavanaugh wrote in the ruling for Harbury versus Hayden that, quote, courts cannot review allegations of executive branch wrongdoing if the claims challenge national security or foreign affairs decisions. Guys, that's just flat out unconstitutional, and it's pro-globalist. In still another case, El Shifa Pharmaceutical Industries Company versus the United States in 2010, he showed his, quote, inclination to dismiss cases alleging government misconduct where national security or foreign affairs are at issue. He's also opined that the U.S. government's war powers are free from the constraints of international law and that international treaties can be ignored if U.S. courts, quote, construe statutes at least when related to war powers. Further, he's asserted that while the U.S. should technically respect international law, the courts have no power to make the government comply with it. That decision, he says, should be left to the president and the Congress, and most of us know how they handle their war powers. Regarding continued detention pursuant to the 2001 authorization for use of military force, Kavanaugh went so far as to acknowledge in 2013's Ali versus Obama that, quote, "This is a long war with no end in sight," but still decided, quote, "It is not the judiciary's proper role to devise a novel detention standard that varies with the length of the detention," end quote. Kavanaugh's actions prompted another judge to claim the current Supreme Court nominee had stretched the meaning of the authorization for the use of military force so far that some habeas corpus rulings were, quote, "functionally useless." Similarly, Kavanaugh has joined or written numerous D.C. Circuit opinions that have turned judicial habeas review of Guantanamo detention into a virtual rubber stamp. His record on free speech is less atrocious than his reverence for authoritarian war powers, protecting government corruption and violence, and denying justice to citizens and non-citizens alike. But he has been known to side with suppressing free speech on some occasions. His jurisprudence suggests that where the precedent is clear, he faithfully applies the law. Where the case law offers ambiguity, however, he has shown a willingness to restrict free speech rights. With regard to government spying, in Clayman versus Obama in 2015, he disturbingly said that, quote, "suspicionless mass collection of Americans' call records is entirely consistent with the Fourth Amendment." Guys, no matter how you slice it, and no matter who this guy is, that's a scary proposition. Further, he said, quote, "The government's collection of telephony metadata from a third party, such as telecommunications service providers, is not considered a search under the Fourth Amendment. And that even if bulk collection did constitute a search, such searches are totally reasonable." He's also supportive of America's growing police state. In the 2007 ruling United States versus Askew, he cited in favor of police stop and frisk tactics, which is another violation of the Fourth Amendment. In another broad show of support for police powers, he endorsed qualified immunity, which is used to exempt, quote, "government officials from liability for constitutional rights violations where their actions are not clearly unconstitutional." This concept has been used by the Supreme Court to let a police officer who shot a woman in her own yard off the hook, setting further precedents to prevent police accountability. Though he opposes absolute immunity, his support for a concept that already limits government responsibility is troublesome all by itself. And it's consistent with rulings regarding the government's war powers. The national conversation about Kavanaugh is obsessively focused on sexual harassment allegations and his views on traditional partisan divides like women's rights and healthcare. And while these are not unimportant issues, it's painfully telling that few are concerned about the exact same issues both the left and the right agree upon that amounts to verifiable harassment. And that is by the government against the American people and the victims of his war machine. Will Congress be questioning Kavanaugh on mass surveillance? It's doubtful, considering they continue to pass legislation enabling it. Will they question him about his endorsement of unrestrained executive and legislative war powers? Again, it's doubtful, given their unrelenting warmongering and commitment to spending taxpayer dollars on their crumbling empire. As Congress continues to violate the people's rights while feigning concern for their well-being, and as media routinely fails to inform the public of these incremental erosions of their freedoms and liberties, it's no surprise the country at large remains unconcerned about Kavanaugh's authoritarian record on war powers and surveillance, or his dubious commitment to free speech and holding domestic law enforcement accountable. If you guys get something out of these videos, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know, and if you're so inclined, support this channel on Patreon and PayPal. I'll see you guys in the next video. Guys, I don't know how much longer my channel will be around here on YouTube. Please take a minute and sign up to my email list. It's free, painless, and you'll get some cool stuff. Also, take another minute to subscribe to my decentralized, censorship-free BitChute and Steemit channels. All these links are in the description. I want you to know this: if my channel goes down, I'll still produce content for you guys through my website and through BitChute and Steemit. So make sure you stay connected through the email subscription link in the description below. Just watch the 45-second video on my website and you'll be all set. If you want to support my work on this channel, grab a shirt, snag a flashlight, or hit me up on Patreon and PayPal. I'll see you guys in the next video. Before you go, check out one of the most in-your-face, hard-hitting, conversation-starting shirt stores on the planet. Just by wearing one of these t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, or cutoffs, and without saying a word, you can let people know that black rifles matter. You can inform the sleeping masses that fluoride is dumbing them down, that Google is a gulag-style censorship machine, that the Department of Homeland Security is merely security theater, that the NSA makes your private life their business, that the Grim Reaper supports everyone's troops, that we need to legalize freedom, that in life there are no excuses, that CNN is a communist news network, voting is the suggestion box of slaves, that 9/11 was a lie, and that all official stories should be questioned. Also, let people know we're in the middle of a full-blown sheepvolution, taxation is theft, the IRS is an immoral robbery service, cops enjoy protecting and serving the crap out of you, that the space you occupy is not a gun-free zone, and that gun-free zones are the most dangerous places on earth. Your purchase helps support more hard-hitting content on my censored channel. As of the recording of this video, I have over 90 designs. I take your requests for new designs, and I'm adding new ones every week, so check back often. The link to the store is in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.